In last week's episode, we finally end our journey on the White River, but not before getting a great send-off with some incredible scenery with falls and canyons. The White River delivered, but now we were camped on one of the biggest lakes in the world for the final paddle to end our adventure. I woke early to the sound of wind and waves on the last day of our trip, and worried whether we'd be able to paddle out. Ben and I have paddled the Superior Coast many times, and know conditions dictate what is possible. But thankfully, as the world came alive, the wind and waves subsided. Maybe this time, the forecast was correct. As I stood on shore looking out, it was bittersweet with the realization the trip was coming to an end. It was amazing how fast time had passed the last 9 days on the river, but not surprising. As the saying goes, all good things must come to an end. And for the record, I'm not a fan of that saying. Good morning. This is the last morning. It's just about 7 o'clock and we're just packing away. The water's supposed to be pretty calm today, a little more calm than yesterday. But we just heard a little bit of gust of wind. But anyhow, we want to get going earlier than later, usually because when the sun comes up, the wind does pick up. So we've got about 5 kilometers. There is about a 1 kilometer crossing, open crossing, which is always nerve-wracking because once you're committed, it could get dicey. But yeah, we're slowly going to get packed up and finish this trip, and hopefully we can get back to Hattie Cove safely. One aspect of tripping you never really miss is packing up. But ironically, I would gladly pack every day if I could continue tripping. Now twist your head around that. Even though Ben and I do eat a lot of oatmeal for breakfast, we are well known by our tripping friends to have what we term supper for breakfast. Simply non-traditional breakfast meals, and this morning was another case in point. Yum. However, after breakfast and coffee, like clockwork, we often have to visit the backwoods. But there was one big bonus of camping at this park site that we simply couldn't ignore or resist using. One of the cool things about Pakasa is that they also provide outhouses, which I'm going to use now. So Ben has already used it this morning and he said it was actually pretty good. There it is. I'm enjoying a moment. Actually sitting upright while, delivering the goods. Anyhow, this is a good way to get reacquainted back to society. I'm enjoying it. They also provide a bear vault, so you can put your food in, so you don't have to worry about hanging your food. As you can see, a lot of the trees here are pretty small and skinny, so this provides a secure way so that bears won't attack your food cache. Okay, back to camp. Morning. Okay, so we are just about to head out. It's a little bit of a breeze, but it's actually, the day is turning out to be better than this morning. It looked like it was going to be overcast. But anyhow, the paddle should be pretty safe. The water looks fairly calm. And we should be back. I think it's only about 4 kilometers to Hattie Cove. Ben, let's go for a swim.
You need to go first, buddy. I've already done my part.
Are you crazy? You crazy? Bye.
Bye.
It was turning out to be a beautiful day and the scenery as gorgeous as ever. But as you can hear,
Got this crap.
Ben's the captain today,
Yeah.
and he's going to be steering us home. Okay, we are just crossing Claytor Harbor, and this is about a 1 kilometer open crossing. So because it's calm enough, we're just going from point to point. Otherwise, if it was rough and you went down into the cove, it would like quadruple or more. Okay, 8 times. You could be paddling 8 kilometers instead of 1 kilometer, just because the harbor is so deep. So you'd have to go all the way in and then come along the other end of the shore. So thankfully it's calm enough. It'll save us a lot of time and effort. It's one of the things that you gotta watch for when paddling on Lake Superior. Ben's paddled Lake Superior like now, this would be your 5th time, right?
Yep.
I've done this would be my 3rd time. So it's good to have experience. Ben knows from a lot of experience. Harrowing experience. He's had experience that even I haven't had. One day maybe he can tell you about it. TPP interview? Yeah, we can certainly do that. It's a crazy story, let me tell you. So like this.
We made it across okay, and now we're partially in the lee of the wind, which was a nice break. Due to the clouds in the sky, it was hard to see how clear and green the water was. So, how about underwater?
Just coming into Hattie Cove. Okay, that's the visitor center directly ahead of us, and the parking lot is just in front of that.
Oh, there's people in there with masks on.
With what?
Masks.
Oh. Should pop it right up now.
Yeah.
Okay, it is 10:15 and just under an hour paddle, and we are now officially at Hattie Cove. Ben is going to go check to make sure the vehicle's there, and hopefully the park attendants will have the keys to the vehicle. We just pulled up just by the visitor center. Successful end to a crazy but fun trip.
As we had no way to know if the vehicle was dropped off by Naturally Superior, we were a bit concerned, but trust it was done. So as Ben looked into the vehicle situation, I removed the packs and various attachments on the canoe while waiting. After some time, Ben came back with good news. The vehicle was there and he got the keys, so we hauled all of our gear over to the parking lot. Except there was one problem.
Ben had a family of mice before the trip, and it looks like he's got another family in.
Much more now. More in 9 days than in the whole history.
There's more poop in the vehicle.
He cleaned out the mess before we continued on. just hoping the mouse was not living inside the vehicle. Before we left, we spent a bit of time inside the visitor center, finding out more about the history around the White River, and of course, buying a few gifts for our family back home.
Okay, we're just back at the gate for Buckley. The thing is, when we leave, we have to do a backcountry, I guess, checkout. So, because if they don't see us, and then in 24 hours they will do a search for us. So we have to make sure that we register out, and then we're safe to go. A little bit of a lineup, but one more person, and we're should be good to check out.
We were finally on our way, back on the Trans-Canada Highway, now heading south. It's always a bit surreal when a trip ends. There is no denying the comfort of the cushion under our rear ends and the air conditioning to keep us cool. But the hardest change is the pace of things. We were back on the clock, racing to get home, and the scenery was flying rapidly before our eyes. The trip was indeed over. We had one pit stop along the way.
We're just at Naturally Superior. We just dropped off some stuff for Jacob, and this is the vehicle that lost its wheel, and of course they got it fixed, so they're using it now. David Wells is not here, so we're just gonna head on home. Hopefully we'll head to the Sioux for tonight. No, Sudbury. I think Sudbury.
It was good to see the shuttle vehicle fixed and back in operation. But to think, just 10 days ago, how different the scenario was. Not surprising why I've been told many times that there's never a dull moment on my trips, which isn't always a good thing. We continued on our way along Highway 17. Our goal was to overnight in Sudbury, but we stopped in Sault Ste. Marie for a well-deserved post-trip celebratory meal. There is no denying this is one thing we all look forward to at the end of a trip. With full bellies, we got some coffee before we made our way to Sudbury, which ended up being a wet, dreary drive. But I have one last story for you. Remember the mouse in Ben's truck? Well, when we arrived in Sudbury, we pulled over at a gas station to fill up as we were on fumes. It was here while pumping gas I witnessed the mouse come out from under the car. I couldn't believe it. It was in the vehicle the whole time, and finally decided to come out. I quickly called Ben over. The irony is, the mouse tried to get back in the vehicle. Ben would not have it, so he stood between it and the truck. It was brazen. We did feel bad, but with no choice, we had to make a getaway before the bandit stole back into the vehicle. Lesson from this story? It isn't always greener on the other side.
Okay, it's almost 11 o'clock, and we got to the Radisson in Sudbury for the night, and I just finished taking a shower and doing a double wash, and I can tell you I feel great. It's been like, I don't know, probably 3, 4, maybe longer days since we washed or swam, so it feels amazing. But anyhow, Ben's in the shower now, and we're gonna probably crash pretty soon. Tomorrow, I mean, it'll be a 3-4 hour drive before we get home, so we'll be home fairly early and pretty much conclude the trip, and we'll have to plan for the next one.
Our planned sea trip on the White River turned out to be amazing. It was a trip born out of desperation due to the pandemic, and it ended up being a trip with characteristics like a pandemic. Crazy at times, unexpected scenarios, unknown outcomes, and even relief. But we pushed through it all and came out not only with a great experience, but with a newfound respect for a river that was almost forgotten. Yes, the river is certainly not what it once was, nor will it ever be. But despite what has changed, the essence and the life of the river still remains. But don't take it from us. Experience it for yourself. For a river only gives what you are willing to give in return. The White River awaits.